Well, welcome to the Simplified Organization podcast, where real moms chat about realistic home and life management. We want to avoid perfectionism, reject overwhelm, and handle housework and all that goes into homemaking in a way that builds relationships because our home is a tool and not a showpiece. I'm your host, Misty Winkler. I write and podcast at simplyconvivial.com about homemaking, homeschooling, and doing life cheerfully. I'm also the author of the Convivial Homeschool, Gospel Encouragement for Keeping Your Sanity While Living and Learning Alongside Your Kids. And today I'm joined by my friend, Kortney Garrison. Kortney is a poet and a homeschooling mom of three who works from home as the community director for Read-Aloud Revival. She also blogs at kortneygarrison.com. Welcome, Kortney.
Thank you so much for having me, and congratulations on your new book.
Thank you. It's exciting.
Yes.
So, what do you have going on in your life right now? What makes up your busy schedule?
Well, my schedule is not excessively busy. I think I fall into the camp of a low energy mom.
Mm-hmm.
So even though I do a lot, our schedule is purposefully kept kind of more open and more relaxed because I'm an introvert and at least 2.5 of my kids are introverts. And so we take time to recharge and to really pursue sort of restful learning.
Nice.
But our days are, my time is spoken for. I do work 15 or 20 hours a week from home and homeschool 3 kids and keep the house running. So there's a lot going on.
And especially with working from home while homeschooling, that can lead to overwhelm, even if there's not a lot on the schedule, because there's a lot of details to manage there in both directions. So what would you say to the mom who feels overwhelmed?
Well, first of all, I didn't start working from home until my youngest was 2.5, almost 3. And so we were almost, sleeping most nights all the way through and things like that. And that really does make a difference. If you are pregnant or nursing or have a new baby, that's a different season of life. And it can be overwhelming if you try to add on things on top of that. So I never really planned to work from home. It wasn't a part of my grand scheme. It was something that sort of just fell into place. I used to look at people who worked in addition to homeschooling and was like, homeschooling's a full-time job. You don't need to do more than this.
For sure.
And what I found is that I don't necessarily consider myself an organized person, but my skills have grown. My capacity has grown. And so as new pieces have been added, as more complexity has been added, my skills get better. And so even in this last pandemic year and a half, my meal planning skills have gotten better. My food preparation has gotten, more streamlined because of all of the different challenges that we were facing. So I think it's important to think about the season of life that you're in and plan from there. It's not as if there's some outside ideal from, Instagram or Pinterest that we're aiming for, but we're aiming to walk the path that's been laid before us.
Yes. And, a lot of times we might feel like, we have that picture, the ideal end result that we're trying to achieve, and we want to just have that overnight success. And sometimes I think the overwhelm comes from imagining that we're supposed to be at that expanded capacity right away. Find the magic secret sauce that's going to get us from here to there overnight, instead of seeing it as, a journey of years and years to grow those skills.
And a journey of years and years that's made up of very small steps and steps that sort of build on each other. And it's so hard when you see that ideal to feel like those small steps are ever going to get you there. It's a very slow rate. It's a very long-term project.
Yes.
I love the way that you describe the sort of repetitive nature of cleaning the house and of setting the stage. It's not as if it's something that you're going to do once and it's going to be done, or done for 3 days or done for a week, or it's an ongoing process. And so in that same way that we are returning again and again to the daily work of laundry and meals and dishes, to set the stage for our family to do their work, and that's such an exciting picture in homeschooling, because this really is like where the stuff happens, here in our homes. So I think having, that sort of repetitive, coming to grips with the repetitive nature and the small steps can really help reduce the overwhelm.
Mm-hmm. As a introvert and low energy mom who still has a lot on your plate, how do you cut back some of those things and keep this schedule a little bit more open and busy, or less busy?
So one thing that we do is, think carefully about outside responsibilities, other things that are happening. We make sure that there's space for them. It's not just a given that we're going to be out 3 times a week. We live in a big city, but we live in a small neighborhood. And so we can do a lot of things by just, walking to the library, by walking to the grocery store. And so those sort of the limits of where we live helps keep us small and keep us, contained. But I think like having a realistic expectation of, it's not just the hour and a half class, it's the half hour of travel time on both sides, and it's the recovery time on the end. And so making sure that there's space for all of those pieces.
Or even the half hour before the drive where you have to find everyone's shoes and coats.
Right. We went to pick out our Christmas tree and got very muddy and wet. And then those were the same, sort of fancier tennis shoes that my kids were going to be wearing to church the next morning. And they were very still wet and muddy. And I was like, well, I guess we're going to wear 2 pairs of socks and have cold feet, because I didn't play it very well, but
it just happens.
It does.
Or you teach the children to roll with the punches.
My shoes were not that wet and muddy, so it was kind of bad for me to be telling them to.
Overwhelm is normal and natural, but we don't have to give into it when it tries to swallow us alive. If you are struggling with overwhelm, then know that you are not alone, and also that you do not have to live in overwhelm. I have a free workshop called Answering Overwhelm, all about handling overwhelm and overcoming it. I'd love to share it with you. Go to answeroverwhelm.com to get instant access to this free workshop. That's answeroverwhelm.com to register for free. And be sure to tune in for part 2 of my conversation with Kortney Garrison, where she gives us 3 tools that she uses to keep life moving forward regularly. It's a great conversation with some great tips and some free printable resources. So don't miss that next week on the Simplified Organization podcast. Until then, repent, rejoice, repeat.